We're going to talk briefly about multiples of fractions. Yesterday in our lesson, we talked about multiples of unit fractions. We learned that a multiple is the product of a number and a counting number. So we know how to write multiples of unit fractions, and now we're going to talk about multiples of non-unit fractions. So something that isn't one part of the whole. So here, it asks us to list the multiples of 2/5. You'll see that up in the top at green. List the multiples of 2/5. So because a multiple is the product of our fraction 2/5 and a counting number, here on the number line, I've identified the counting numbers of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, those are the multiples we're going to find, the first 4 multiples. So 2/5, and you'll see on the number line, each of the tick marks represents 1/5. Over here, you see the number 1, but then there's also 5/5 written below it. And the reason for that is we know that 1 is equivalent to 5/5. But because this number line is broken into fifths, we have 5/5, 6/5, 7/5, and so on. And then we also have it written as a mixed number on top. So we have it both ways, and we know that both of those are equivalent. So here we're going to take 2/5 and we're going to multiply it by our first counting number of 1. Well, 1 times 2/5 is 2/5. Now we're going to do 2/5 times 2, you'll see in our second hop, right? And 2/5 times 2 is 4/5. We're now going to do 2/5 times 3, our next counting number, and we get 6/5. So I'm noticing a pattern, right? I have 2/5, 4/5, 6/5. I'm counting by 2/5. Now we're going to do 2/5 times 4. 2/5 times 4 is 8/5. If I continued on and I did 2/5 times 5, I would then get 10/5, which also follows this pattern. So we have, if I were going to list them, I would write 2/5. What's going on here? We're going crazy. 2/5, 4/5, 6/5, 8/5, and as we said, if we were to continue on, we'd then have 10/5 because we'd be multiplying 2/5 by the counting number of 5. So you'll see that I did 2/5 times 1, 2/5 times 2, times 3, times 4. Those are my counting numbers, and I'm multiplying by the fraction of 2/5. So very similar to finding multiples of unit fractions, but this time we're using a non-unit fraction of 2/5 multiplied by that counting number.